with breaking news from the Supreme Court at this hour. The justices handing down the highly anticipated ruling on abortion and the fate of the landmark Roe versus Wade decision.
Regulate abortion is returned to the people and their elected representatives. Yes. SCOTUS is overturned.
Mama, I know I'm a demon. It ain't nothing she could do but pray for me.
It's been 50 years since that landmark Supreme Court ruling, and conservatives in government and in law have been working for 50 years to overturn it. And this is the live reaction now in real time outside the U.S. Supreme Court in our nation's capital.
What you're seeing there are people who are overjoyed about the decision in this particular shot here. And then you also have people who are obviously going to be dismayed about this.
Today, Friday, June 24th, 2022, the Supreme Court of the United States has ruled to overturn landmark decision Roe versus Wade, which guarantees women's right to access abortion care in the United States of America.
The U.S. Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade, striking down the constitutional right to an abortion. This leaves the decision for states to decide, where a patchwork of policies is already rolling out.
This is a majority opinion written by Justice Samuel Alito, very close to what was leaked several weeks back. The justice is saying we hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled. I want to bring in Terry Moran, who has covered the Supreme Court for many years. Terry, bottom line, what has the court said this morning?
Bottom line, Roe versus Wade is overruled. There is no constitutional right to an abortion in this country anymore as of today.
Real-time reaction to the High Court's decision overturning Roe v. Wade, striking down the constitutional right to abortion, leaving that decision for states to decide. Stepped-up security and barricades set up around the court complex, where crowds gathered for the opinion.
This is a live look from outside the United States Supreme Court, where protesters on both sides of the abortion issue are demonstrating after today's landmark decision to overturn Roe versus Wade.
50 years of abortion protections has been discarded.
Jeffrey, put into context how consequential this is.
You know, psychologists have a term called flashbulb memory, which is you remember where you are when something happened. The big deal, 9/11, Kennedy assassination. Today is the moment.
This 26 states were poised to quickly move to severely restrict access to abortion or ban it outright. 13 have already passed so-called trigger laws that would ban the procedure once Roe is struck down.
States who are poised to enact immediate abortion restriction laws are now free and available to do so. Many already have, including Louisiana, which now has an outright ban on abortion.
According to a leaked Supreme Court draft opinion obtained by Politico in May and confirmed as authentic by Chief Justice John Roberts, a majority of justices voted to end federal protections for abortions and let states make their own abortion laws instead. Justice Samuel Alito, writing for the majority in the draft, stating that Roe was wrongly decided.
Reproductive rights law. So, Jessica, thank you so much for joining us here. This news breaking just moments ago. In your profession as a woman, what is your initial reaction to this ruling? Are you surprised?
I'm not surprised. Anyone who has been following the court for the past 25 years saw this coming. And there have been reproductive rights scholars predicting the demise of Roe for decades, and it has now come to pass. I'm not the least bit surprised. I am horrified and devastated, but I am not surprised.
This is an attack on the lives, the sovereignty, the safety, the rights of women to self-protect, self-govern, and self-regulate.
But we have some powerful dissents from the three remaining liberals, all joined Justice Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan. And there is a joint dissent. And if I could just read from page 2. The court's ruling, the liberals say, says that from the very moment of fertilization, a woman has no rights to speak of. A state can force her to bring a pregnancy to term, even at the steepest personal and familial cost. An abortion restriction is permissible. And it then goes on to predict states will feel free to enact all manner of restrictions, saying that we've already seen it, going on to predict that there will be many more to come. And then on page 4, the dissent, the joint dissent says, whatever the exact scope of the coming laws, one result of today's decision is certain: the curtailment of women's rights and of their status as free and equal citizens. Yesterday, the Constitution guaranteed a woman confronted with an unplanned pregnancy could make her own decision. But today, that is no longer.
The Center for Reproductive Rights and Abortion Rights Legal Group counts 25 states as likely to ban abortion, including North Carolina and Pennsylvania, but not including Florida, Iowa, or Montana. Does the Supreme Court decision overturn Roe v. Wade, effectively ending recognition of a constitutional right to abortion? The majority opinion written by Justice Samuel Alito claimed abortion was, quote, a profound moral question that would need to be left to individual states. But dissenting opinion written by Supreme Court Justices Stephen Breyer, Sonia Sotomayor, and Elena Kagan lamented the decision, saying that the ruling would now allow the government to unethically control women's bodies. Quote, for half a century, Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood of Southeastern Pennsylvania versus Casey have protected the liberty and equality of women. Roe held and Casey reaffirmed that the Constitution safeguards a woman's right to decide for herself whether to bear a child.
Congressman Tim Ryan of Ohio, who's an important voice in the Democratic Party and whose position on the issue of abortion has evolved. Congressman, what's your reaction to this decision today?
Absolute largest governmental overreach in the history of our lifetime. We're a country of expanding rights. Now we're, with the Supreme Court, we're taking rights away. This is government mandated pregnancy. I mean, if you're going to defer to the Ohio law, then the Ohio law says that if you get pregnant through rape, incest, you must bring that baby to term. And so I thought we were in a free society here, and I thought women had rights and they were free like everybody else, but evidently they're not. And the concern is, I think for everybody watching this right now, the concern is Justice Thomas, what he wrote about going after birth control next. Right? Going after same-sex marriage next. That's the era we're living in, and I hope people are waking up. This is terrible about Roe, but this is going well beyond that if they have anything to do with it.
The government could not control a woman's body or the course of a woman's life. It could not determine what a woman's future would be. See KC 505 U.S. at 853, Gonzalez v. Carhart, 550 U.S. 124. 171 to 172 of 2007, Ginsburg J. dissenting. Respecting a woman as an autonomous being and granting her full equality meant giving her substantial choice over the most personal, most consequential of all life decisions. Democratic campaign arms have already signaled that abortion will be a key issue heading into the midterms. The fact of the matter is that when, where, and with whom to have a child is the single most consequential decision a woman will ever make in her life. There is nothing greater. The choice of when or where to go to university, where to live, who to marry, anything. There is no choice greater than the decision of when, where, and with whom to bear a child. That the United States government has taken upon itself the authority to make those decisions for women who we know are at risk for coercive control, birth control sabotage, rape, the The list is endless, in which women's lives and decisions for them can be taken out of their hands, and she will be forced to carry a child for a man who has burdened upon her the struggle to carry his child and reproduce his lineage at the expense of her life, her dreams, her wealth, her well-being, her ability to provide for herself and her children, to move about the world, to plan and organize a life for herself.
Your position on the issue of abortion has evolved over the years. Tell me about that.
Well, it evolved because I started talking and hearing stories of women who had very complicated pregnancies, and came over time, talked to more and more of these women who had these circumstances, and realized government has no business being in there. You want Madison Cawthorn in your bedroom? You want Matt Gaetz in your bedroom, in your doctor's offices, making decisions for you? That's insanity. And so this come to a head now, and I guess Madison Cawthorn and these radicals are in your bedroom.
Under the Obama presidency, Democrats had the Senate, the Congress, and the presidency. And although it had been a campaign promise by Barack Obama that he would sign abortion protections into federal law,
The thing I do as president is sign the Freedom of Choice Act. That's the first thing that
he chose not to, later explaining that it wasn't a priority.
The Freedom of Choice Act is not my highest legislative priority. Of course.
This is significant because, on the one hand, while we have Republicans who are so disingenuous as to deny the American women right to an abortion after they talk about personal freedom, small government, and yet they want government in our medical rooms, they want government in our bedrooms and in our lives and in ways that we plan our families. They know good and goddamn well that if it was their 14-year-old daughter, their 15-year-old daughter, their 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old daughter who was pregnant and didn't want to be, they would be the first ones scheduled with a private doctor in a private suite having that little situation taken care of. So with that being said, we know the Republican position. What I find insidious is the Democrat position, because they've had every opportunity to sign this into law. Why haven't they? Not because they didn't have time or resources, but the fact of the matter is that so much of Democrat policy is keeping people subjugated enough so that they keep voting Democrat. One of the biggest motivators for people to stick with the Democrat Party is abortion protection. If that were to be signed into federal law, and if that question were to be closed and resolved, and that protection would be solidified, they would lose a lot of their base, because the fact of the matter is that is one of the biggest things that keep a lot of people hanging on voting Democrat. And especially now that they see that they're losing a lot of their female base when it comes to transgender policy and sex-based rights, which are being diminished. And a lot of this stuff, they see this stuff coming long before we do. So as they were introducing Equality Act, they saw this coming. And it's the same way even with our Black voter base and their Latino voter base. They need you to believe that you are so subjugated and that you need a savior, that you need the Democrat Party to come and protect you. Once you are liberated, once you are independent, you'll no longer need them. And the fact of the matter is that you'll probably stop voting Democrat.
Monica and Bria, one will create a fund to help pay for women to get an abortion. That could mean cost of travel and lodging. Another allows nurse practitioners to perform early abortions with the proper training in like the first semester, for example. All 14 of these bills are moving forward.
See, these Democrats are also profiting off this. That's why it's just both sides. We need to just stop depending on these institutions altogether. We need to take the power back, is the bottom line. This is what needs to be the takeaway. We can't depend on either of these parties to protect us. There are snakes in the grass on both sides. Women need to fight the one positive thing, and the reason why I do believe it is important that we still vote based on sex-based rights, because if we lose the definition of what a woman is, then we'll lose everything else. But if we lose our sex-based rights altogether, all of this, the trickle-down effect will be massive. It won't be a trickle-down, it'll be a flood. So I still believe that we need to vote based on sex-based rights, maintaining what is a woman and sanity. and then we fight like hell on the state level to protect our reproductive rights. And with that being said, I am going to I'm working right now on a project that will put reproductive freedom back in the hands of the women themselves and in the hands of traditional midwives. I will be developing a curriculum to teach women and teach people who care for women and community members and community midwives a technique known as menstrual extraction. In the coming weeks, I will be collaborating with local midwives. Here in Pennsylvania, we have a legal midwifery status that is meant to accommodate the Amish and Mennonite community who have a tradition of staying home for childbirth, who birth in the home, and who do all of their prenatal care and postpartum care in the home. As such, we have midwives who serve that community and who have done hundreds upon hundreds and thousands of births outside of the hospital setting using low-tech techniques. As such, in the coming weeks and months, I will be collaborating with the local midwifery community of Pennsylvania. As a traditional midwife and a former Southeastern Pennsylvania representative of the Midwives Alliance of Pennsylvania, I will be developing a curriculum that will teach community midwives, caregivers, women, and people who care for women the skills of something called menstrual extraction, which will give women the ability to remove the contents of their uterus, and that will assist in a home-based early abortion that is safe and effective. Is it as safe as going into the hospital? No. But is it more dangerous than a high-risk pregnancy? No. I will make sure that we have all the information that we need for dire circumstances that do not include coat hangers. We will never go back to that. I'm working to figure out the logistics of this. I'm asking for donations. I'm asking anybody who wants to support this project, please. I can't do this alone. I have children, but this is so important. So I'm really asking the community, please help me get this project off the ground. I will make it an online curriculum so that it can be accessed by anyone with internet from across the world. Please, I'm asking for your support. My donation is I'm going to put in my links to make a donation in the description of this video. I am going to be reaching out to the midwives who serve the Amish and Mennonite communities in Pennsylvania, as well as other traditional midwives who work outside of the home. I have an extensive, wide net connection of midwives, not only in Pennsylvania, but across America and globally. I have connections with Shifra Banai Panakan, located in Taytay Rizal, Philippines, with many of the traditional midwives there, many of whom have, I have connections with obstetrician gynecologists, physicians. Together, I will draw this information together to create a curriculum that will empower women to perform their own abortions using low-tech, using inexpensive, low-tech equipment that is, by and large, very safe. This can be done. We can take our lives back into our own hands. You're not alone. This fight is not over. And as this gets desperate times call for desperate measures. The same way that these basic functions are necessary, it's time for women to get back in control of our own lives. We no longer need to rely on doctors. We no longer need to rely on obstetrician gynecologists. They are failing us. It is time to re-empower ourselves with how to do these ancient practices that have been around for millennia.